Hey, what's up guys? I'm Jake from today'siphone.com and here's what's going on this week. Now let's talk about the white iPhone 4 for a little while. When the iPhone 4 was first announced, it was big news that it was going to come in both black and white, and a lot of people were really excited about the white version, except it appears that Apple had some manufacturing issues with the device, so they pushed it back a couple months and they promised that it would be out ASAP. But then Apple pushed it back again because they were still having some issues. Then they pushed it back a third time. I mean, at that point it seemed as though anybody who actually wanted the white iPhone 4 either just bought the black one or went with a different device. Now it is 10 months after the iPhone 4 debuted. The white iPhone 4 is still not out, but we're still talking about it. Now, the reason the white iPhone 4 is in the news this time is that the Wall Street Journal has confirmed that the device will be out this spring. Now, lending further credence to that story is the fact that the white iPhone 4 has shown up in Verizon systems. So, after 10 months of waiting, it looks like the white iPhone 4 is finally going to come out. And, you know, if this thing had come out on time, or even if just a couple months after it was supposed to come out, people would have been excited for it, people would have bought it, but I really don't see that happening now, especially this close to the next iPhone release. I think the two most significant things about the white iPhone 4 now are the fact that Apple held true to its promise even though it probably cost them a lot more money than they're going to make on the device. And it also leads to the question of whether or not Apple will push back the release of iPhone 5. I want to know what you guys think. Is Apple going to push back the iPhone 5 to keep the white iPhone 4 and the Verizon iPhone hot for a little bit longer? Or are they just going to keep to the yearly product cycle, hope they sell as many white iPhone 4s as possible before June or July, and release the iPhone 5 on schedule? Now, whether the iPhone 5 is delayed or not, there are still a ton of rumors surrounding this device. Now, Cam put together a list of the top iPhone 5 rumors over on today'siphone.com. Now, he talks about everything from the 12 megapixel camera rumors to the 4-inch screen to the iOS 5, and it's all pretty interesting, and it'd be fun to read this and then go back after the iPhone 5 is announced and see what was real and what was fake. So if this sounds cool to you, definitely check it out over at today'siphone.com. Link in the description. Oh yeah. Okay, moving right along, you guys may remember Daniel's first iPhone vs. Wild video, where he went to the mall and basically showed you a bunch of really cool applications that can help you in real world uses. Well, the second episode of iPhone vs. Wild is up now. It is a road trip edition, and it shows a bunch of really cool things like Gas Buddy and some map applications. So definitely check it out, because it's not only a really cool way to see some awesome applications, but it's cool to see how they would affect you when you're using them in the real world. Alright, in iPad 2 news, a survey went around recently to 2,000 Americans, asking them how interested they are in buying an iPad. Now, the same survey was done last year around this time for the first generation device, and it appears that interest for the iPad has increased a whopping 40% since last year. Now, obviously those are pretty big numbers, and it kind of explains why iPad stock has been so low recently. Shipping times for the device online are still 2 to 3 weeks, except, I mean, at least for me, it's shaping up to be around 4 weeks, which is awesome. One other interesting thing to note is that the Verizon iPad is way more popular than the AT&T iPad because of the more reliable network, even if the Verizon iPad is rumored to have connection issues. Now, speaking of surveys, last week I talked about the one coming out of Piper Jaffray that revealed how many American teens own an iPhone, iPad, or iPod, or are planning to buy one. And if you guys remember, I asked you to leave a comment down below on that video telling me which device you own or which you are planning to own. Now, math is not my strong suit, but I think I calculated this correctly, so let's check it out. Now, in total, there were about 167 of you that answered the question, and the TIP numbers differ from the Piper Jaffray survey in a couple ways. First is iPhone ownership. They're claiming that 17% of American teens own an iPhone. Well, 55% of TIP readers own an iPhone. Now, that's not surprising considering this is an iPhone website. It's going to attract iPhone owners, but that's a pretty big jump. Now, Piper Jaffray said that 37% of American teens plan to buy an iPhone, but according to TIP readers, only 13% plan to buy an iPhone. And that's probably because a lot of TIP readers who plan to buy an iPhone bought the iPhone 4, bumping them from the plan to category to the iPhone category, which is why those numbers are way higher. Regarding the iPad, 22% of American teens either own some sort of tablet or have one in the house, while 35% of TIP readers own an iPad. And finally, according to the Piper Jaffray survey, 86% of American teens own an iPod, while only 60% of TIP readers own an iPod. So as you can see, our numbers are skewed a little bit towards the iPhone category because this is an iPhone website, but the iPod category is the biggest category among American teens in total. Now, I am not the best at math. There's a very good chance that I messed this up. So if anybody feels like going through all those comments and testing my work, feel free to do so and let me know on Twitter at TIPJake or in the comment section down below. And finally, in application news, Easter's coming up pretty soon, and you all know what that means. That's right, an Angry Birds Seasons update. Now, the Easter version of Angry Birds Seasons is supposed to go live sometime next week, but screenshots of the application have leaked, showing a bunch of bunny ears and multicolored eggs, and, you know, it looks very festive and just as fun as all the other Angry Birds. Now, Angry Birds is fine, but personally I prefer Doodle Jump, and luckily for me, they have an Easter update as well. This one actually came out about a month ago, but it's kind of a secret update. What you have to do is die in the game, and then enter your name as Hop, H-O-P, and then you play again, and you're in this whole Easter theme. You're playing as the bunny from that new movie Hop, and it's cool and Easter themed, and yeah, it's awesome. Alright, well that's it for this week, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget that the links to all these stories I talked about today are in the description down below. And for more news, views, and reviews, definitely head over to todaysiphone.com. Oh, and if you want to connect with me more, you can follow me on Twitter at TIPJake. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions, I'm all ears. Well, actually, I only have 2 ears. But I will listen to you, and I like to answer questions, so definitely head over to twitter.com/TIPJake. See you next week.